Hi, this is David Davis from Actual Tech Media. We're here at the Emerging Technology Summit, and I'm excited to be joined by a couple experts from Pivot3. So why don't you introduce yourselves?
My name is Dave Schatz. I'm the Regional Sales Director for Pivot3.
Robert Labrador, Solution Architect for Pivot3.
Awesome, awesome. So thanks for joining us today, guys. Here at the Emerging Technology Summit, it's all about what's new, what's hot, what's innovative, and we've been learning a little bit about Pivot3, and I know the Actual Tech Media audience is really in tune with hyperconvergence. We do a lot of big hyperconvergence events, and everybody is always really excited about it. So let's talk about hyperconvergence and specifically Pivot3. So first off, why don't you tell us who is Pivot3 and what do you guys do for those who don't know?
Sure. So Pivot3 is a hyperconverged infrastructure vendor. We've been around since about 2002, actually backed our way into the hyperconverged space. We started as software-defined storage, using large volumes of data by tying multiple appliances together, high fault tolerance, really good storage efficiency. We've been in the business for a long time, and then we called it everything but hyperconverged infrastructure. As that market has emerged in the last couple of years, it became pretty clear that we're very much on the forefront of that hyperconverged infrastructure market.
Very nice. So you guys were hyperconvergence before hyperconvergence was...
Before it was cool.
Even
yes.
cool, yeah. So today, Pivot3, you all offer a hardware solution as well as a software-only solution. Is that right?
That's correct. The magic in what we do is in our software. And while we're often tied to an appliance-based deployment model, we can also sell software only. We can do Dell, Lenovo, Cisco, and then more platforms are on the way as well.
Okay. So, and then what about hypervisor support? What's the typical hypervisor look like? And what if people don't want to, maybe move their compute to Pivot3? Is that an option?
Yeah, so currently we are on vSphere 6 as our hypervisor. What Pivot3 does is they don't want to keep you isolated in terms of your platform that you've chosen. We know that you may currently have an investment in other server manufacturers, so you can utilize us as just a storage piece. And then at that time when it comes time to move away from those servers, you can migrate easily using vMotion to our platform.
So, I mean, for companies out there who are using vSphere, you all support vSphere. It could be as easy as doing a vMotion to move from their existing infrastructure to the Pivot3 hyperconverged infrastructure. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then what about, hyperconvergence is essentially, in my opinion at least, taking, traditional compute servers and then running software-defined storage, across those. What's kind of the Pivot3, vision of how that works in the future?
So the way I see it, we start to see out in the marketplace software-defined storage, software-defined networks, software-defined infrastructure. Everything's moving to that software-defined platform. What we see at Pivot3 is being the underlying piece to accept all those layers. So what I've been telling my customers is that if we can be the de facto standard in order to address the entire stack, now we're building a platform that's going to drive us closer to your business needs and address it through IT.
Okay, all right. So essentially trying to get to software-defined everything, the software-defined Nirvana, if you will.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you can get to that software-defined Nirvana, now you're addressing flexibility and scalability, fluidity, right? Creating that IT fluidity. That is the Nirvana for a platform. It all starts with HCI.
And that makes sense because so many businesses today, they need that fluidity, that agility and scalability, to really expand what they're doing. What about use cases? What are some of the use cases that companies have seen Pivot3 helpful?
So I mentioned we've been around since about 2002, and when we came out as a software-defined storage company, our first use case was video surveillance. It's high ingest, very dense storage, and really requires a lot of fault tolerance because when you're talking about video surveillance, you're talking about data that's essentially could be used for prosecution, could be used for evidence. So it's got to be captured, it's got to be protected, and it's got to be immediately accessible. So video surveillance somehow has been one of our largest markets, and we've got some massive, massive customers into the 10, 20, 30 petabyte range. So that's always been a good core market for us. But beyond that, then we grow into just the regular, the HCI use cases. It's BCDR, it's VDI, it's just pure data center consolidation. Where that gets exciting for us is when we start talking about store in a box, when we start talking about site in a box, where it's a combination of those core data center consolidation use cases, then throw a surveillance layer on top of it. Now all of a sudden I've got an entire store in a box on a very few set of appliances. Really efficient, really slick way to work.
Very nice. So Pivot3 is, a software-defined storage, and in some cases a compute layer. If you purchase hardware from Pivot3 for really any general use case. I mean, any company that has storage and needs to run servers, Pivot3 is a great solution. So one other question, and that is, how do these companies typically get started with Pivot3? Do they go through a VAR like Deltaware Data, who's putting on the Emerging Technology Conference, or how do they get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with select business partners, and Deltaware is obviously one of our key business partners. We've had a great success with them from previously our relationship with as NextGen, who is a PCIe flash array manufacturer. They merged with Pivot3 about 9 months ago, and we just continue that relationship and hope to build an even bigger business with Deltaware moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time today, Dave and Robert.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.